I'm kind of upset now. We did not mention that you built a whole island.
Yeah, and in that project, man, I that was my third year in framing.
Yeah.
I built a reputation quick.
Welcome to the Infinite Creative Podcast. My name is Fitz, and my buddy over here is.
Hi, I'm Sean, and thanks everyone for getting on. We're with a guest today, Gustavo Muniz of Bela Terra. He's kind of a jack of all trades in terms of construction, all of these things, but I think he can do a lot better job of explaining himself than me. So go ahead, Gustavo. Thank you for being on, man.
How's it going, guys? Thank you for having me on. My name is Gustavo Muniz, owner and operator of Bela Terra. So Bela Terra is a construction company, and we are expanding into other realms that also touch, the construction aspect of our lives. So we are also expanding into the real estate realm with the objective of just being a change for the current status and the standard of service that we currently find within those industries.
I love it. I love it. With that being said, though, what do you do in construction? Because I saw some photos and they're pretty amazing, and I'm like, it's more interior design, or can you go into that? What do you do like specifically there? Because construction sounds like hard working on the concrete shoveling and whatever, but it seems like you're doing more than that.
Well, it is all of that and more. So when I first arrived to the U.S. in 2001. I initially I came to the U.S. actually to pursue a medical career. But when I got here, all of my certifications from Brazil were not valid, in which the more I talked to, other immigrants, this is the case. Foreign educations are not accepted. So I had that, I had that realization right away. And so I had to ultimately start working. And I started cleaning houses, and that was my first gig in the U.S., making very, very small minimum wage, cleaning houses and observing the world around me, and just hungry for information and for excellence in everything that I did. So within a year, of cleaning houses for a construction company, I actually became a framer myself. And all of these opportunities started to grow and present themselves as a natural evolution within my career. I just picked up the nail gun and just started going at it. So I did the work from working my way from the bottom all the way up, and I identified all of the low performance elements of the industry itself. So I observed a detachment of communications. There were no communication between the people involved in a project. There were, a lot of people are not very happy doing their work in the construction realm because it is hard work. And so in my mind, what I decided to do was create something unique, a signature service. So if I could mix, the very basic service, which is, hey, I'm here to clean, and then get to the highest aspect, the highest realm of the construction, which is the sales part of it, where the general contractor comes in and talks to the customer, makes the sale, and commences on the project. That is the opportunity that I saw. I saw a way of doing things that were different and that were a hybrid of all tiers of the service, with the intent of increasing the quality of the experience within the construction activity, that the customer decides to undergo, and just an overall higher, intellect to be held within that exchange of energy, with the receiver.
Well, so I love how you talked about how you used to be in this kind of medical world, right? And then you move into this, which is funny, right? I think a lot of us were in these kind of high level careers, right? But then when we want to switch careers, you have to start at the bottom again.
Mhm.
So that must have been interesting for you to kind of be like, I'm in this medical world. I'm the professional. I'm the smartest guy in the room, and now you're cleaning houses. And then you're like, and I could just see
Mhm.
your mind being like, there's more to this. Like I'm more than this. And I guess, can you talk to me about like kind of where your head was at? I don't know. Can you remember like what you were thinking during those times? Like where were you at? I mean, you're cleaning houses. You had this like medical education that means nothing now, really. Like what was going through your mind then?
Well, absolutely. It was a huge hit, psychological and emotional hit, because I'm so pumped and excited about pursuing my career. So I did try to go in what was being recommended to me at the time, which was start college again and all of that. What I identified within the college system is that it was very politically driven and not necessarily the theme and the topics that we were paying for were being taught. So I quickly metabolized that and I was like, I got to start again. So being from Brazil, third world country, I believe that I already have this more of a humble, perception of the world, and anything and any opportunity that comes our way, we're very appreciative of. So you're right. Starting from the bottom again, cleaning houses, having all the knowledge that I had before, required me to really suck it up and just do what I had to do. But within the brainstorm part of as I clean these houses, I'm identifying all these things. I noticed a couple of things. I noticed that through the the cleaning stage, I was able to identify more things about the construction process than the people that were not doing it. So I started identifying the flaws and all of the mistakes that were being made around me, and I started creating these formulas that I would adopt as a modus operandi for my own actions within the industry as a higher level of service. So I really, it took a lot of belief in self and the understanding that eventually you will win. But the mentality of the medicine that a very basic medicine that I practiced in Brazil. I was a health instructor, and I was getting into physical therapy as well. I actually started infusing the perception of our biomechanical structure into the construction, and perceiving the houses as a living structure. So just like a human, if you don't have any blood flow, you don't have life, you don't have nourishment.
It's pretty hard.
um, Right. And if you get a house and you take the occupants away from that, and the house rots, the house decays. So it's almost like there is a very similar performance of a human body and an actual house structure within my view of it. And then I obviously, as I evolved within my understanding and my concepts, I adopted the awareness of energy and the application of energy within my modality as well. Energy and flow, extremely important. And one of the main things, obviously, not to be too long-winded within this answer, it is the lack of acknowledgement of energy within our day-to-day interactions. So energy applies to everything, and
Yeah.
I hope it all makes sense.
I mean,
No, that
there's a
was a
lot to
great.
unpack. Because like I feel like coming like from, I was an electrician and I was like doing construction kind of too, like for a long time, and I'm like, what I saw on the construction side is usually like, okay, somebody's doing their job and just their job, and then they cook
Mhm.
basically like, oh, this is not us, and they kick it down the road, and
Right.
somebody else has to do it. And I think like with like going above and beyond and thinking about the final outcome will give you a good advantage about like, oh, the customer's happy, you do more than it's needed and everything feels
Mhm.
good.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you're talking about the body, right? That like, so what Fitz just said, yeah, like you're only doing one part of the body, but you got to do all of it. It all has to work together. You can't just have the lungs be good and then there's no blood, there's no heart. That you got to have all of these different pieces. So,
Correct.
so I guess so now let's get to the next chapter, I guess. So how did they start giving you a hard hat? How did you get the nail gun? Did you just kind of take it and you're just like, hey guys, put me in there, or was there somebody that kind of mentored you? How did that work?
So I have always been very observant. I believe this is just my nature, and systematic, right? So I was born and raised military in South America. My father is part of the armed forces in Brazil.
Hmm.
So with as I was cleaning houses, I was perfect attendance, right? I would always show up, and it was I was at the job site at 7 a.m. and I left at 5:30. Worked my tail off every day, and obviously that consistency cannot be easily paired. I would say, because if someone else is doing their job and they're not very motivated about it, they more than likely they will miss a day or two of work whenever you're actually there, which that was the opportunity that presented to me. So
Mm.
as I was working with this framing crew, one of their guys was hungover and did not show up to work. So I was like, hey, I can do it. And they were like, no, no way, no way, you can't do this, Gustavo. I'm like, I've been watching you guys, and I think I can. So they put me to the test. They were like, "Hey, man, here, there's there are sawhorses over there. There's some plywood. We're building the floor system. Go." I'm like, okay. So I got everybody's tools. I got the tool belt, got the chalk line, got the skill saw, cut the board, laid it down, glued it down, nailed it, and they were like, "Wow, okay, we can have you. You can you start tomorrow helping us out?" I'm like, yes, sir,
Nice.
absolutely. So yeah, I just
I love that.
dove into it, man, and figured that out. And it's not that hard. It's actually it's very physically demanding, but in a intellectual aspect of it, construction, especially traditional construction, is very very basic.
Mm.
Yeah, well, especially for someone who's analytical like you, like coming from kind of a medical background, I'm sure you have this kind of interesting, like, I want a certain solution. There's a tool and a process, and you just go through that tool and process and follow it. But I just love that the whole like, put me in, coach. I'm ready. I love that moment because I think we all kind of have
Yeah,
to do that, right? We all have to have that moment that we like say, no, just trust me, give me a chance. And it seems like yeah, you just took it. You just took that one chance, and then it's
that's
led to
right.
this entire new life now. And so I think you worked in Florida, right? Was this all happening in Florida, I guess, or was this already in Georgia? Or
Oh no, that was Florida. Florida was the inception point for me. So whenever I came from Brazil, I arrived to the Gulf of Mexico, and I had my green card at the time. I played all I followed all the rules,
Yeah.
and I
So
made
I
it
got a
here.
question though. How long is that
Yeah.
ago?
Okay, so 2001,
Damn.
I was I was very blessed to have arrived in September 1st of 2001,
whoa,
which 10 days later, it would have been a complete different picture
Yeah.
for me as an immigrant. I had my green card with me, and my at the time international driver's license. Believe it or not, there is such thing as that. And then that allows you to actually drive in the United States for a little while.
that's cool.
Where, yeah.
So yeah, so you so yeah, so you did this stuff. You started to do construction. Now, what's interesting though is when I met you. So let's fast forward now to like, I don't know. God, when was this? It was probably like 2016, maybe that I met you. You
Hmm.
you moved to Colorado with your amazing wife and your amazing kid, and you you were all in this kind of holistic place. It was really interesting. Like I didn't meet Gustavo the builder. I met Gustavo the kind of holistic um, mind, I guess. It's hard to describe. You kind of sold all these holistic things. You also were really big on fair trade coffee and really creating like this kind of quality biome for people. So tell me, how did that happen? How did we get from construction, Gustavo, back almost to the medical side? I think that's a very interesting.
Right.
Was it like a vision? Was there something you had, or?
Wow, that's a great question, Sean. So my career within, I didn't know that Bela Terra was going to happen. Really, whenever I arrived to the United States in 2001, I worked for corporate America for a good 16 years of my stay here in the United States, which, by the way, I got my citizenship in 2009.
Hey,
Um, yeah, it was 8 years of hard work, man, but it happened. Um, so whenever we met, Sean, I was broken, really. I believe that I was overworked, underpaid, wore out, man. I was part of the system, and a very brutal, cruel system that really does not recognize or compensate. You get what you were able to, wherever it is that you're able to achieve. And what happened is I recognized, I looked at myself in the mirror when I was within my early 30s, and I found myself overweight. I found myself miserable, working 90 hours a week for corporate America, and I was missing out. I have a daughter. Her name is Gracie, and I noticed that Gracie was growing up, and I was like, wow, she's already 5, and I don't. I haven't really hung out with my family much. So I had this conversation with Erica, my wife, about changing the pace of things, and understanding, like, what is a value, what isn't a value, what is an illusion, what isn't an illusion. I came to that breaking point where you start to question everything that's happening in your life, and everyone that's in your life, to see if, like, are these people really for me? Is there a vendetta? Is there a special interest? So, with all that being said, man, many bridges were burned, and a lot of relationships collapsed as a consequence of that assessment in my life. But what that brought was purity to my world, purity to my, the perception that I had of reality, the understanding of what matters and what doesn't matter. And that is ultimately what brought me to Colorado. Was like, I'm going to sell everything. I'm going to change my life. I have no idea what that looks like, but I'm just going to do it. So I came to Colorado to start a new business. And at the time, Sean, you remember that we started as Activate Creations, which was a name. It was an abstract name. I had no idea how or what was going to happen. Based on the blessings of my life, of great connections and mentors, I was guided to come up with something comprehensive that would make sense, that people could understand, and that we could be of utmost service, but also successful within the recognition and the nourishment and the return on investment at the time. So we opened a little store that we called Bela Terra, which was beautiful world, beautiful planet in Portuguese. That's the translation. And I noticed that the retail at the time was definitely not making the return on the investment. And the bills were going up, income down, bank account running dry. And that's whenever I had this realization that I had to start generating. I had to start producing. So I defaulted back into construction. So I started fixing decks, fixing, um, doing handyman stuff.
Hmm.
And obviously, based on my background, knowledge, and career and all of that, I was like, I can't stay here for too much longer. So it was that moment that all of my thinking, all of the preparation, all of the neuroplasticity that I had endured throughout all these years came together and said, boom, create this amazing profile that is untouchable and that is extremely authentic. And then combine that with a lot of reading, literature, like from Napoleon Hill, uh, very inspiring literature that allows you to do an assessment of all of it, right? So if there were people that succeeded within after post Great Depression, an immigrant in today's society, in today's world, which I find us to be in a very, very resourceful stage of the planet and of the United States, the existence of the United States. I mean, we have everything available to us. I said, I can do this. This is possible. So that's ultimately how it all like came into reality. And it sounds a lot easier than what it is, but
Yeah, it always does,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
Well, yeah, I love that. So, and so now you have Bela Terra, you have Bela Terra Creations, and recently Bela Terra Properties. I think you kind of already alluded that you saw that there's things that can go better in all of these. I think anyone out there that's ever done any home construction or has sold their property knows that it's a rocky road, and there's a lot of bad characters working in that place. I guess let's jump to kind of now, like so now you're here. I know I've been keeping track of you pretty closely for the year, so I've kind of seen this rise. But can you talk about a little bit about like what's your vision? What's your goal now, looking out into the kind of horizons with all of these missions?
awesome. So one of the game changer elements of Bela Terra was our positioning within the industry. So once I figured out that this is it, this is exactly what I wanted to do, I positioned myself within my marketing strategies as a high-end construction, real estate service provider, and that was, there's a lot of components to that positioning, but the positioning is extremely important because it allows you to then reach your target audience. The vision right now is for us to continue to evolve. So one of the logos that we use is the globe. So I want us to be an international presence. I want us to focus on a beautiful planet. What is that? What is that? What is Bella Terra and our role within the world? Everything that we touch turns into gold. We want to make sure that the people that are looking for the high-end experience and the awesome construction project, we want that to come into manifestation in whatever shape or form that is, and we want to enhance the experience throughout the process, because like I said, the industry is plagued by underperforming elements. So there's a lot of pain and suffering that comes from even the thought of a remodel, right?
Oh yeah.
We want to change that. We want definitely from our customers' feedback. They say that we are the best company, that we provide the highest quality service, and obviously all of the components that don't necessarily work harmoniously are almost inevitable elements, but that we still cater for the customers. So there's communication from the very inception point all the way to the completion of the project. Everybody is treated equally, from the homeowner all the way to the actual installer of, like, the granite countertop or the sink or the plumber or the electrician. Everybody's treated, with respect and honor. I would say honor is another word that I believe to be almost an extinction in today's society. So if you fall back into old school principles, it's inevitable for you to have a great outcome, for what you're doing. But to circle back around and not to fly off your focused question, it is, we want to be of a global scale service within our areas of expertise. And we're looking into all the variables involved and the relocation processes and everything else, but that is the big vision.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask
So,
Gustavo, is it okay if I share with our audience pictures of a recent install? I think we've done a lot of talking, but I think I want to show some of your work. Is that okay if I show those kind of cool bathroom photos you sent me? Is that okay?
absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Let me do that real
Yeah.
quick. So for everyone out there, I just want you to know Gustavo is a great. He has a cool creative mind, which is what I want to get into next. Is like how you even think of things like this when you approach a project. So some of these are pretty amazing. So this is a bathroom you recently did, and I'll let you talk through this, but amazing work.
Yeah, so this is a beautiful mansion, located here in Colorado by the Garden of the Gods.
Mm.
And in this specific project, we had some customers reached out, and this connection came through a cabinet studio that I worked with historically here in Colorado. The customer initially wanted to do some very minor modifications to their bathroom, in which, once again, it all starts with that simple conversation. And I'm not imposing of any kind of ideas, especially in the very beginning, because people are very sensitive to that. And I'm non-imposing. So I came in, we looked at it, and they were like, we want to do something amazing, and we heard that you can deliver the amazing vision. So it all started just bringing an old bathroom in this beautiful mansion to life. In my mind, the way it works is I'm a builder, but I'm also a destroyer. So in my mind, it all crumbles into 1,000 pieces, and then it gets restructured back again with the energy signature of the customer. In this case, I'm very fortunate to have these amazing customers that have this amazing creative energy, and this is ultimately the outcome of the combined efforts. It's completely redone bathroom. We went through a couple of concepts developments. Some of those were no non-negotiable, like the curbless shower. This is something that they definitely wanted to have. And then everything else came as a consequence of brainstorming and being open. I have found that traditional contracting, especially GCs, they specialize in something and they're stuck in it. So they have that modality, I would say, and then they don't want to step out of it because they understand that it takes time and energy for you to embrace it, develop it, and all it happens in your mind before it happens in the physical realm. And I just, at this point in my career, I'm just saying, I'm not even worried. Whatever it takes, let's take on the vision and let's make it happen and adapt as we are delivering it. So there are certain things that happen that they're not planned, but if you're able to embrace those shifts of information and energy and conditions, I believe that you're able to have this adaptive response that takes you over the top on the delivery. So this was one of them that we made some basic modifications at first, and then there was a certain point that we were like, let's just go all the way, and then obviously fine tuning and honing it, and then narrowing it down into a very perfect bullseye, and boom, that's it. Here we are.
I love it.
Cool. So in these projects, so I love how you're saying this. You're saying, like, the project's going to kind of change, right? And the client's opinion is going to change, and what they want is going to change. And instead of being an obstacle to that, right? Instead of saying, well, no, I'm the professional, you don't know anything, I know everything, we're going to do what I say. You were like, well, okay, let me listen. There was like empathy there. It seems like you have this kind of empathy of like,
yes,
no, you may not be a contractor, but that doesn't mean your opinion's not valid. And I really like that. Can you talk, and you don't have to give any actual names, but can you give an example of friction though? Is it how do you handle it when a client wants something and it's just not the right thing? How do you handle that?
well, there is a lot of respect that plays out in the way that I handle my business. I'm respectful for their time, and I expect this to be reciprocal. So if I am feeling like there is a lack of reciprocity, that to me is an indication of lack of awareness. Therefore, there is no project. So there is no business. There has to be that frequency that is met within, especially within the brainstorming part of the project. And ultimately, as a builder, if I had somebody come to me and say, "Hey, I want a house, I want a big kitchen, I want a big island, I want a big bathroom." These are all, to me, non-negotiables, right? These are the core elements that are bringing them to ask me for my services, and I, as the expert, am going to manifest that if I want the business and if I want the gig. So it is their house. This is one thing that I don't understand is how, as a contractor, how can you not honor somebody's request whenever it is their house, their money, their resources, their time that you are utilizing, and obviously you're coming in and you're getting paid for it, and there is that participation of your intellect within it, but it's not sole propriety. It's a collaboration. So whenever you're working on somebody's house, I already come in with a humble approach of I'm of service to this person, and this person, if they are open-minded and I would say aware, they will take advantage in a good way of that positioning and flow with it. So let's say we are midway through the project and the customer's like, "Hey, Gustavo, the shower is, I wanted to have a 5-feature shower instead of a 3-feature shower." This is a conversation, Sean, that I have had with the customer in the very beginning. We go through that multiple times to the point of almost becoming redundant, because if I'm talking to the person, I'm walking them through it, and communication decreases, I believe, lack of performance and failure within tasks because you just over communicate. You're like, "I'm always there, I'm talking, let's go over this. You want this way, you want this color," and all of that. And then obviously there is the follow-up of documentation, right? So you have a verbal communication with the customer, and then you have an email form that comes in and pretty much materializes that in the paper and on the documents. part of the undertaking. And then when you're in manifestation mode and you are putting that into this realm, there shouldn't be any reasons for any shifts. But if there are, I'm willing to open. I'm willing to not to open. I'm willing to communicate and understand the reasons behind. If it is an accident that may have occurred that requires these modifications, then we'll adapt to it. And there's also an understanding that as a service provider, I cannot absorb the change of the vision. That this is a
It's
mutually
expensive.
exactly. And if a customer is trying to make you feel bad enough to where they're like, now you're gonna have to cover for this modification, then you are in a position that almost like you put yourself in that place. You did not explain things ahead of time in clear communication in order to set the expectations correct. So my goal is always under promise and over deliver. That is the intent.
Oh
I love
yeah.
it.
Well, I love what you say there. It's all comes down to communication, right? And that's in our fields too, right? Me as a web designer, if it's doing videos, it's like we have to be communicating, right? And I love the fact that you said you have to have receipts. That's the biggest thing is when you get halfway through a project and something blows up out of nowhere. Those emails are gold. Then where you're like, well, hold on now.
Mm.
You said that we should do this, and now you're saying that. And I don't know about in your experience, Gustavo, but I know in my experience when I do that, they're almost apologetic. It's like you see a 360 shift and how they're like, oh my God, you're right. I'm the one that's
Yeah.
changing things now on you. And most of the time they're okay with the extra cost. Then they're like, you know what? I see that I'm the one causing the issue. I'm happy to pay for the adjustment. So yeah, it really does. It comes
Yeah.
down to that kind of communication.
Yeah.
So you've worked with other subcontractors. So I always like to hear what's something you would like to see more. I guess. Again, you don't have to name names or anything, but like, what's something
Mm.
right now that you're seeing that you could see being done better by a lot of contractors?
So the industry is contaminated by ignorance, man. I think that our worst enemy, humanity's worst enemy, is ignorance. And even worse is the ignorance that is a choice. I know people that choose to remain ignorant. So
Mm,
um, I would love to see intellectual power being brought into the industry, which is part of what I want to involve myself within. But as of now, I have no idea how to actually go about it. It's extremely hard to find somebody that wants to do construction to start with, and then
mhm.
to find somebody that wants to do construction and teach them how to do it in a more complex modality is almost impossible. So, but if I had a choice, it would be intellectual power and communication and
Mhm.
respect. I think that these are three core elements that are there's not enough. There's not enough of that. And more often than not, I get called in to fix other people's mistakes as well. So
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
annoying. Yeah, with that being
mm.
said, how you feel like is the industry going? Because you think it's like you need more people in construction, or is it like it's satisfied? What is the market right now?
Oh man, so there are multiple variables within construction. So what you have is you have production work. So you have production work and then you have custom. On the production side of things, it's chaotic. You have a lot of contractors that decide to go with um, sources of labor that are questionable. I'm I'm not gonna be too specific about
Okay,
it, but you get the drift.
the cheaper
Um,
the better. How we like it.
exactly, man. And for the life of me, I could never understand that. Um,
Ah,
and being that I was one once I was the little guy doing the things
Yeah.
for that. I was like, man, I mean, really is one of the main questions that I had for my buddies were like, is that the boss? You know, is that the guy that is calling the shots? Because I'm like, holy, we're all like we're all in a bad situation here because
Yeah. Because of
so
him.
exactly. So man, uh, the industry is going in a bad direction, I would say, because I believe that it is part of human nature to be insatiable, and hungry for comfort, and all of these elements are creating this massive structure that is now imposing upon us. So if you're going to buy a house, you're going to live on this stupid box, you know, and I say it this way because this is exactly what I believe in. I'm like, if really a box, you know, a square with a toilet and the kitchen, there is no creativity. I mean, and
Yeah.
then you have the placement of these properties. So now you're building on top of areas that used to be, cleaning areas for gold. Sean, that there are some areas here in Colorado that they were being used to clean gold, and they're highly toxic and contaminated areas. And it's like, dude, why are you building a house on top of that? So you have this
Cheap.
the it is cheap, exactly. And but the consumer is still paying $500,000 for that house, you know. And this is what I cannot accept. And one of my YouTube videos, which by the way, um, following you guys' suggestions of just doing it right, this is what I'm doing. You know, in my case, it's I'm just doing stuff. I'm not necessarily the best at it, uh,
Mhm.
especially in regards to the YouTube videos.
I'm
But I
curious. I
am
want to see links.
okay. We'll do. But I just find that I get so annoyed by certain things that I come across, and I'm like, man, I have to say something about this, and hopefully somebody hears it, and something is done about it. Uh, okay, so going back and focus onto the question, the direction that is going is a bad direction, because of the abuse of excuse me, guys, my nose.
No worries.
Uh, because of the abuse uh, of the resources, and the people that are in the positions of power, they don't have the best interest of the public. I don't think
Yeah.
so. So
Yeah. That's good. I can relate to that too. It's so funny that like, we're in different worlds, but it's the same thing, right? Where, I know one thing that I've tried to do with all my clients is like, let's bring it out of the money realm, right? Let's when we're making a website, let's not think how cheap can we make the website and how optimized can my budget be for this website? Because it's the same thing, right? Then what you end up with is a very blocky, boring website. And that's not what I got into this for. There's a lot of times I even have to tell myself, I have to refresh the kind of mission in my head of like, why did you do this? You didn't go to art school to make something generic. You didn't go down this crazy path to make more money, because frankly, there's better paths to make money than making websites. And so, I've had to do that for myself. And it seems like you've had to do that as well, where you've had to be like, you know what, I could be like all the rest of the contractors out there, and we lost them again.
Just keep on going. Just keep on
But
going.
but so the big thing that I'm getting from the conversation here with Gustavo is that he's like us. He's like Fitz and I, where we're like, let's make this about the creativity. Let's make this about doing better, and making better work. Nope, you're totally fine. I kind of riffed for a second, the but we're just talking about how like we have the same struggle, right? If we got to get it out of this money zone and we got to get it into this quality zone, right? We have to get people to appreciate quality and appreciate the end user. I think that's the biggest thing too. It's so funny to think that it's such a new idea, but like we need to think about the end user, and not even just the end user, but after the end user, right? Like what happens to a house if it gets demolished? What happens to this land if we have to, I think, and it's funny because it's like a new thought, right? It's like in the last 50 years we've started to really think about that. It feels like so it's cool to hear that you're out there trying to think like, let's not think about the money. Let's really just think about people's lives and their memories. They're gonna grow a family in this space. Their whole life is gonna happen in this space. So why should we make it generic? Why should we build it on toxic land? I love that. And I think we're like warriors in that way, right? I feel like I'm a warrior in the website world. There's so many web developers and marketing people that call themselves web designers that's their whole thing of like, let's just churn out 100 websites this year using one template. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And you see the exact same thing. And, what I've had to tell my clients is like, why I have to get back to why did you do this? Why did you get in this? And I'm sure you have to do that too with yours. Like, why are you buying a house here? And like, let's get back to this. Like, you wanted a house here. You're in Colorado, and there's a reason to that. I'm sure you have to kind of bring it back into their realm, and they're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, there's something bigger here than just money and budgets and all of these things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Our time, our presence, right? The fact that we are alive right now in this very second, and we have this opportunity to communicate and exchange energy. Also, the false perception of information being power. This is something that I come across a lot, and because this one guy knows this technique, he thinks he like, I'm the best. I'm like, okay, you can be the best right now, but as soon as I figure that out, I'm already beyond your position, and I'm gone. So I find myself to be so hungry for new ways, innovation, that information to me is not it's really information, and I'm able to discern if it is good or bad, if I'm going to apply it or not, and when I will apply it. So there is an entire complexity to the thought process of business that needs to be embraced, which is exactly what you're talking about. It's a multidimensional aspect of our interactions as humans. We're not here in this world to make money and die. This is not it. Money is a form of energy that is required in our reality for nourishment, right? I need money so that I can pay for food, and then I can pay for a house, and I can pay for fuel for me to go to work. And this stems, Sean, directly from, I believe, the current education system. The education system is very indoctrinating of our thinking, and very soul crushing, to the point that whenever you are out of school, you're ready to be a good boy and produce for the big guy that is wearing the suit and tie. And there are not that many of us that have the warrior mentality that says, hold on a second. I'm not in this world to be a good boy to nobody. I'm in this world to be a power that I'm able to provide to others. And then whenever you realize that your power is others' power at the same time, then you can make your collective effort of uprising, and creating something new.
I love that. That's deep.
It is really deep. I rarely do this to guests on this, but I think I'm going to do it to you.
What you doing?
I want to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you, Gustavo. I want to challenge you to get this message out, because it's we've talked about it on our podcast a lot about when you think about these niches, you'd be surprised how little people are communicating about this. And I'm sure if we looked into the contractor world and the builder world, I think these types of things are so needed, right? Like if there's an 18-year-old guy out there that's like, I think I want to become a contractor, but yeah, or like I want to build things. Like it may not say I want to be a contractor, but I want to build things. But I'm in this world of cheap labor, and I'm in this world of this type of thinking. And I think your message is really cool, and just your story, just knowing that you cleaned houses and you had to have an ego death. I think that's the biggest thing too, is you had to kill that ego for it to be
Yeah.
reborn. And I think that's when you start to think this way. Is you have to get to this humble place. You have to lose all your pride in a way. You
Oh
get
yeah.
that aside, and then you can actually finally grow. So that's my challenge to you, man. I want to see you put out more content. I want you to like really angle it towards those builders and thinkers out there, because I think they're probably surrounded in exactly what you just said. They're surrounded in suits and ties and people that want money, and I think the only way we change that is people like you that are like going to be that warrior that is like, nope, I'll be the only one if I have to. I'll be the only builder in all of Colorado that thinks this way if I have to be. And I think that's awesome. It's amazing.
It is, man, and it goes ancient. I believe that this understanding is ancient. Is nothing new. We have just been dumbed down
Mm-hmm.
by the system. If you look at ancient civilizations, the king would be in front of the army, not behind. He would be in
Mm-hmm.
front. He would be like, "Hey, man, what's up? You want to talk to me? Let's talk." And then if you go to the samurai realm, if you wanna settle things the old way, it is samurai against samurai, and there are no other hundreds of thousands of deaths that need to be um, a collateral to that misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
They both go at it, and whoever wins wins, and whatever comes from that comes from that. So it is an old warrior mentality. It is ancient. It is within I believe, within our system. It's innate to our biomechanical genetic structure.
I love that. I love that. So it's like, yeah. So what you're saying is the warrior is in all of us. So you just have to kind of awaken it. Our whole life has just been pushing that down. So half of it is,
Mhm.
release that warrior, that inner warrior. So I guess as we kind of close this out, we have a lot of creatives that watch this podcast. That seems to be like our main audience, and as well as business and marketing people. What's your kind of advice to creatives out there to kind of even take it out of the contractor world, like to a young creative as well? I mean, so you have a daughter, Gracie, who's amazing at art. So
Mhm.
seeing her progress and seeing where she's going, what's some things that you've been thinking about? What's some advice you'd give to kind of those young creatives?
Okay, so art, I believe to be art and creative thinking is the future. It is what will save our species from self-destruction. Really,
Mm-hmm.
um, we can create new pathways. Our bodies are extremely dynamic and resilient. Embrace embrace the death of what does not serve you. Embrace the suffering from your ego, and do a self-assessment while all of this is happening, because purpose comes
Mm-hmm.
from suffering. I believe suffering is it is inevitable, and it should be actually welcomed and embraced, because as you figure out what you cannot do and what you don't want, you get closer to what you can do and what you want in this world.
That's awesome.
So that is my message to creatives.
I love
That's
that.
so cool. That's so cool, man. Yeah.
I'm kind of upset now. We did not mention that you built a whole island.
Well, it's okay. Right? Episode
I
two.
mean, like we
Part
completely
two.
like underserved it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and in that project, man, I that was my third year in framing.
yeah,
So I built a reputation quickly in the region, and two millionaires were building this island, and they were like, "Gustavo, I need you to be a head carpenter for this project."
I
So
love it.
it was me and 20 Russians. We built this island in about 3.5 years, man.
I love that. I love that. Like when I was an electrician, I had like Polish people under me, and I was like, on the construction side, and we're just like kicking it, and it was like a fun time.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, Polish guys are. I mean, Europeans in general. I've had a really good experience with them, man.
yeah. But I really like that because like it seems like you have like the spiritual aspect to the whole thing, and that is like very powerful when you do like a project and you have a millionaire who is like very spiritual because like not everybody is like clean cut like businessman, and there needs to be the spiritual, there needs to be this, and everybody those segments needs to be satisfied, and I feel like that's
Hmm.
undervalued because everything looks too clean on the on the richer side. It's like it's nearly
Yeah.
like not even organic anymore.
Oh yeah, yeah. The artificial. It's just the artificial realm that is created. I believe this is it's part of a bigger element of the matrix. So
Yeah.
we are presented with these things, and we're like, oh, this is reality, and it's like if you don't have the balls, you're not gonna question it. And then the moment you question it, though, man, you open the literally, like, you open this entire universe, and you're like, holy shit. I mean, all of this information is here, and
Yeah.
nobody's talking about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I mean, dude, the best thing we can do for each other is really just good information.
Yeah.
And I have no problem whatsoever. Another thing that I think it's incredibly powerful is for you to share and empower others, and then you see them blooming, and then you
Yeah.
bloom as a consequence of their blooming, man. It's like
I
that is
love it.
that is the
Win-win.
collective, it
Yeah,
is.
I love that. But I'm kind of upset now. We did not mention that you built a whole island.
Well, it's okay. But episode
I
two,
mean, like we
part
completely
two.
like underserved it. I'm just like, you're just like, okay, yeah.
Well, we have Gustavo part two coming up. We'll just do that. How about
There
that?
we go. There are other things in the horizons, that are coming up, but it's just not in
Yeah,
a I would say materialized
yeah.
state.
And it's also important to, yeah, not give away and like not spoil the seed.
Well,
Yeah,
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 yeah.
and
Oh, go
and
ahead.
and and to pace yourself too within the manifestation, because I know
Mm,
you mentioned it, Sean, that you were also thinking of starting another podcast, right?
Hmm.
On one of your episodes. I mean, dude,
Hmm.
this is amazing. I mean, this is how we are. We are unstoppable. We're like, man, can I do this? Can I? Oh, I want to do this too. And it's like,
yeah.
yeah. And at the
Hmm.
same time, you have to remain the pace on what you already have going on. So,
Yeah.
Hmm.
but I'm just fortunate. I'm really fortunate to have you guys in my life for this opportunity. I'm fortunate for my wife and daughter.
Yeah, I have another question though, because you just said like you cannot the manifesting. How do you manifest like without like spoiling it? So you think there's like an aspect where you talk too much and don't do enough? Well, what do you mean with that?
So the balance in manifestation is focus. That is it. Because as creatives, we are all over the place all the time, and as whenever you're manifesting, man, there is discipline needed, and you need to bring that into a very center core, and then you
Hmm.
need to aim it and go for it.
I love it.
That is manifestation. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
because like some people they talk a lot and they're like, oh yeah, I just have to say it and think it, and they don't really do it. And I think like that's like two pairs of shoes. You got to do it and you got to think it and believe it. Otherwise, nothing is happening.
Well, and think of it as a trinity as well. So manifestation requires, just like fire
Yeah,
requires three elements, right? You need fuel, oxygen, and heat. For manifestation to take place, you need the thought, the spoken word, and the action.
yeah. That alone, I think this will be a banger reel. Am I allowed to use this?
You can, please do it, man.
I got you. I got you.
you do, yeah, yeah. You're right. You have to not like something to get to the thing that you
Yeah.
you do like. That's so powerful, man. Super powerful.
Yeah,
So yeah,
man.
so for anyone out there, we're gonna have this in the description. We'll have Bella Terra on there, and also Gustavo's YouTube channel. as well. And then, if you're in Colorado, this is the guy to get. I mean, I've worked with contractors before, I've worked with builders before, and nobody has a personality like Gustavo. Like, no one's gonna like come in and start to talk about the body, the mind, the soul.
Thank you.
Know,
Thank you.
you're not gonna get that with anyone else. So if you're watching this and you're like, dang, I need to hear these things, and I'm getting my house built, and this is the guy, man. And he's taken off. I love to see that you've grown, man. You've always been so nice, so humble since the very beginning. Always have a big smile on your face, even in the middle of the chaos. I mean, I've seen you in some dark times, and you had a big smile on your face. You weren't looking for any sympathy at all. So it's powerful to see you finally grow to this state that you've been working towards for decades, really. So it's really cool to see you finally get there, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, thank you for all of you guys watching. Like, subscribe, all of that junk, and yet again, look in the description, follow Gustavo's journey. I know we will be. And yeah, we'd love to have you on again, man. We'd love to hear from you as you get more and more stuff in your world.
Awesome. Will do.